So here I am, I don't know, a year and a half later, having to take this thing apart and fix all the leaks. Um, this is the first hose that leaked, and it goes on the back of this manifold here. Where am I? Upside down here. Goes on the back of this manifold right here. You can see I put a quick connect coupler on there because I got tired of fixing the leak at this fitting here, right here. This whole thing is, I don't know what it is, cast steel or something with some brass and bronze fittings. And the air gets hot on this thing when the compressor's on. You know, usually when it's empty and it has to fill up the whole thing, it gets pretty hot. So you got expansion and contraction, expansion and contraction. And whatever pipe dope they put on these things, it just doesn't hold up. So this was the first one to leak. This one leaked so bad you could hear it, and that's pretty bad. So what I did was, this goes to that quick connect there. This is just a, what do they call them, a whip. Call them a whip, a 1/4 inch hose. This one happens to be 3/8 on the OD, outside diameter, but it's a 1/4 inch hose internally. And so this goes between the power switch and the manifold. But I have yet another leak here also. And this is the component that's leaking. And again, this was so loose I could almost unscrew it by hand. This goes, see if I can get it in view, get this hose out of the way. Got this thing on a tripod right now. That thing out of the way. Maybe I'll move it this way. It goes right in here, okay? It just started leaking about a week ago. And it wasn't very tight in here at all. Once I took it apart, I could just literally almost unscrew it. I used a pair of pliers to turn it about 1/8 of a turn, and the rest I just unscrewed by hand. That's how loose it was in here. Again, the pipe dope, there's hardly any pipe dope on this, and it was leaking like a sieve. It got to the point where I could hear it. And when you can hear a leak, then that's a bad leak. And so, you know, I'm giving this thing two stars, okay, because this shouldn't happen a year and a half later. And by the way, this thing probably has less than 15 hours on it, if it even has that much. And a lot of those hours were put on because it was leaking and it was cycling on and off every 2 hours. Not good, not good. So what I got here is, and I saw this in someone else's video, by the way, so I don't want to steal his idea, but I'm going to use his idea. What I have here is Loctite. I can get it in focus, 242. And we're going to use this as a pipe dope. And a lot of people say, well, you know, if you got your parts out and all that, well, that's bullshit, because you will. Because this is not the red stuff. This is the blue stuff. And with applying a little heat, and you can get the stuff. You'll get the components out of there if you need to. But that stuff works pretty good as a thread sealant. And it also, of course, locks the fitting in place so it doesn't move, which was a problem with that original hose. I don't know where I put it. What did I do with it? Well, the original one I showed you, that broke loose. That would vibrate loose. I don't know what that, oh, here it is. This one, this fitting right here. This fitting on my manifold, if you can imagine, you know, ideally you would want between this fitting here and the manifold, you would not want a nice bend like that where it tightens. But on mine, they had it tightened like this. So it was just an unnatural bend. And over time, as the pipe dope started to fail, it just unscrewed itself counterclockwise to the point where you could hear it hissing and it was loose in the fitting. And this one's the same thing, loose in the fitting. Pipe dope's gone. Don't know why or how. So we're going to use Loctite. And you can see I got this thing partially taken apart. So one other thing I want to caution you about is this brass pipe goes between, let's see if I'm in camera's view here. Maybe not. Okay. Goes between here and that fitting over here. Okay. And you can see the way this thing is made. It's got a little lip here, and it's got a washer on it, a fiber washer or a rubber washer, or it may even be an O-ring. I'm not even sure. I think it's an O-ring. I'm going to replace them if they're O-rings. I got a set of O-rings. But I want to caution you that these things actually fit inside the hole. So when you put this fitting back in, thusly, you want to screw it down just enough to get it to line up flat. You know, the seat, you want it flat there, and you want it flat on the other fitting without distorting the pipe. So I don't want to get too awful windy here, but that's the gist of it. Now I'm going to install this fitting in here with the Loctite. Okay, so you can see here I got blue Loctite on the fitting. With my fitting, it's about 5 turns to get it lined up with the copper fitting. It's not exactly square. It's offset a little bit, so just make sure you fit it in there. And right now mine got tight, so I got to turn it with something. I'm going to have to get back to you because I can't do this one-handed. Okay, so got it screwed down. Hopefully it ain't going to leak anymore. And put some O-rings on, new O-rings on this. You know, Harbor Freight has O-ring kits. These happen to be green for refrigeration, but they'll be fine for this. I'm going to put a little 3-in-1 oil on the end of this, just to seal it, give something to seal against on both sides, and then I'm going to tighten it down. Sorry about moving a camera, but I had to take it off the tripod. Okay, so time to get this thing back together. Got the copper tube back on, brass tube, whatever it is. I think it's copper, but whatever it is. And I'm just going to temporarily put the manifold back on here. Okay. Put a couple screws in it. And then we'll have to wait a few hours before we check it out. Sorry, in the way of the camera. You got the gist of it here. There's one. I'll put another one in here. And wait. Okay. Turn the valve off on the bottom of the tank. Oh, and by the way, this is what it is. Hell of a time to show it. It's the 170 PSI, 26-gallon Harbor Freight, super duper fortress, quiet compressor, all that bullshit. It looks nice, but it does have its problems with leaks, that's for sure. I see all the reviews online on the Harbor Freight website, and a good number of them probably never used the thing, just plugged it in, tried it out. And when I first got this thing, I didn't have any leaks, but you know, I probably would have given it a good review had I done it the week I bought it, but Now it's a year and a half later and I find myself fixing all these leaks. I see that it has some serious flaws. So we'll see what happens. We'll turn this thing back on in about 4 or 5 hours, 10 o'clock now. About 3 o'clock if I'm awake. I'll turn it on and we'll see what happens. Well, we'll see if it's going to hold. This is the first test. Just to show you how hot those fittings get. That thing's around 200 degrees right now. 200 degrees. And that is pretty damn hot. So that's why that pipe dope, or whatever the hell it is that they're using, doesn't hold up. You can imagine, heating that thing up and cooling it down, hundreds of times. What that does to the pipe dope. Because they're dissimilar metals. That's bronze or brass. I think it's bronze inside that steel collar. And not good. Not a good design. I don't hear any hissing, so I know I don't have any really bad leaks now. So we'll come back and check on it. Let's see. It is 10 to 1. Come back and check on it in like 15 minutes to see if it's gone down any. Boy, I hope it doesn't, because I'm tired of this. Okay, so this is about 30 hours later. And it shows a little less pressure, but that's probably because the garage is cooled off and the tank is cool and the air is not hot anymore. So, the pressure is going to go down a little bit. But after 30 hours, trust me, that's good. That's not leaking. So, it would take weeks to kick on the compressor if it were leaking. So I think I'm good to go. So hopefully most of you won't have to go through this, but if you do, now you know what you have to do. Use Loctite. Use Loctite 242, and you'll get through this. It is Chinese, and it is what it is. So